stress on it? Wait, why would I stress? I know I'm a child. I know I'm a child of God. Dog. Stop playing with me, ain't got time to play with you boys. I know God is moving, can't wait for you boys. Sharing his faith, can I pray for you boys? Hands go get laid, that's okay with you, boy, that's okay. Satan don't like me, shoot face with that boy. With it, I go all day with that boy. Bet, water of life, found life in that water. I Bobby Boucher on that boy. Yeah, tryna play God, blow up in their face like that's a grenade on that boy. But I stress on it. Wait, why would I stress? I know I'm a child. I know I'm a child of God. Dog. Wait, why would I stress? I know I'm a child. I know I'm a child of God. Dog. Stop playing with me, ain't got time to play with you boys. I know God is moving, can't wait for you boys. Sharing his faith, can I pray for you boys? Hands go get laid, that's okay with you, boy, that's okay. Satan don't like me, shoot face with that boy. With it, I go all day with that boy. Bet, water of life, found life in that water. I Bobby Boucher on that boy. Yeah, tryna play God, blow up in their face like that's a grenade on that boy. But I stress on it. Wait, why would I stress? I know I'm a child. I know I'm a child of God. Dog. Stress on it. Wait, why would I stress? I know I'm a child. I know I'm a child of God. Dog. Stop playing with me, ain't got time to play with you boys. I know God is moving, can't wait for you boys. Sharing his faith, can I pray for you boys? Hands go get laid, that's okay with you, boy, that's okay.
And welcome in, guys, to King Josiah TV. Welcome back, guys, to the show. This is the live cast of episode 25, guys. But before we get started, guys, this channel was created to influence the kingdom of Jesus Christ in your world. I am your host, Josiah. And before we get started, guys, I need you to do me a huge favor. If you're listening on YouTube, or go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But if you're listening audibly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button for me, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
Watch giants fall like Goliath. David, I dance, this ain't no tick-tock. God told me that my steps was ordered. Walking in flip-flops, Chris Rock, how they laughed at me for...
Come in, guys, to King Josiah TV podcast, guys. Today we got a very interesting show, guys, for you guys. Today we're going to cover some really big topics, guys, that happened this week. Just to give you a quick rundown, guys, we're going to talk about the Billy Carson and Wes Huff, their debate, the Jamie Foxx Netflix special that just came out, Candace Owens. Guys, we got a lot coming at you guys, a lot of stuff here. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into our first subject of today. Again, this has been big in the Christian community, Bill Carson and Wes Huff. Now, Billy Carson, he's if you ask me, a self-proclaimed apologist, historian, that has been on the he's been on the Joe Rogan show, plenty of other podcasts, has his own podcast and YouTube. He considers himself again a historian, apologist of the faith, and he's been for years trying to debunk Christianity. He says a lot of things, uses big words, and gets on platforms where people can't really definitively defend anything that he says. So he recently came head to head with somebody that's a real apologist, a real historian, somebody that's really taken their time to go into the history of the Bible and knows the manuscripts. So they had a debate, and this happened this last week. And when they had a debate, Billy Carson got completely embarrassed. I don't care what you say, he got embarrassed, and then he came out and then tries to sue Wes. He says he's going to sue Wes, the guy that was on the podcast when he was in. I mean, if you watch the whole episode, we're going to watch some highlights here in a second. But if you watch the whole episode, Billy Carson is calm. He's cool. He's not under pressure, but he's acting like they were trying to bum rush him, and he didn't get to speak his piece, and he was certain things were changed about what he was saying, what he was doing, which is completely not true. So, guys, without further ado on that, I want to play initially the first thing that happened this week. The big thing that happened was the actual where Billy came out. I'm sorry, where Wes came out and pretty much stated that he's going to now sue him. So we're going to pull this up on the screen. All right, here we go, guys. Sorry for the wait. Let's go and guess. This is where Wes comes out and states that he's going to sue him for this
Billy
interview.
Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work. I've released clips from that conversation. Well, Billy does not want you to see those clips and has sent me a cease and desist letter. I was really hoping that this could be an opportunity for Billy to learn, to see the major errors that he's been repeating and turn this into a learning experience. I even offered to follow up with Billy in order to show him how and where he could find accurate and credible resources in order to make sure that what he was saying was verifiably correct going forward in the future. So he and his audience could learn and proceed knowledgeably. Billy did not agree. But unfortunately for Billy, agreeing to a debate, losing that debate, and feeling embarrassed about that loss does not constitute legitimate grounds to litigate. Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter that you have sent me if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion. This is my formal response.
So that's Wes's formal response to Billy Carson. So that happened like less than a few days ago. But guys, I want to show you actually the interview portions of it. So the full debate or podcast that they had, that podcast was long. It was in total, I think that whole podcast was in total like 3 hours long. So give me a second, guys. Sorry. 1 minute here.
That's
Sorry, guys. Just little technical difficulties here. Okay. So we're gonna play clips of the actual interview where they both got on there. They both had a debate. They both were going back and forth at each other. And if you watch this debate, again, you can tell Billy Carson is completely calm. Wes is completely calm. He's able to get his thoughts out, but every time he says something, you can tell he's stumped. Just pay attention to his face or expressions. I'm gonna let it play, guys, because it's gonna do all the talking for itself.
not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast,
I'm terribly sorry, guys, for anybody that's watching live. Just having a little bit of technical difficulties
How you
here.
came about like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate?
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which according to some scholars, it's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Jesus was.
I mean, he blows them up here, but anybody that sits back and actually believes that statement about Jesus being married, that's been debunked a while ago. I mean, I've read the studies on it. It's been debunked. It's something that, again, people try to use as a talking point to try to disprove Christianity, when, again, there's no factual basis in it, nor the person that wrote it or came to that conclusion about him. And I think it was Mary Magdalene. They said he kissed or whatever when he greeted her.
Wasn't crucified in that Bible.
I've actually worked with, there are two manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have two copies of. One is in Italian and one is in Spanish, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are two apocryphal documents from the 2nd century. But the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery. In chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem. It shows no actual indication of coming from or even having knowledge of 1st century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah. Whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. The Gospel of Barnabas.
And look at his face. Look at Billy Carson's face. When he's sitting there talking, you can see him like pretty much like his brain is scrambling at this point. This is when you get somebody that's a real apologist, somebody that's a real historian that really knows their facts, comes up against somebody that's been literally spreading lies and deceit. And we're going to get to it here in a minute, is Billy's little response, but he's blowing him up.
Paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. We don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century. So I'm a historian.
Yep.
So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. We have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John, and it has the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something,
and how he just is crazy how Wes has that stuff just sitting right behind him, where he's just showing him, yo, these are the manuscripts. These are parts of it that prove parts of the Bible that show Jesus was crucified. There's just so much archaeological evidence. There's so many things. I mean, even the History Channel, if you go to them, that's not a Christian website, will tell you Jesus Christ was crucified. He was a real man. And it's like, if you're ignoring the facts, it's like you're purposely trying not to see the truth.
Like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than.
If you say it's a known forgery and expert, I'm going to go with that.
Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I ask for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there.
He's got no.
I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that? Right, my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where
he's not going to be able to pull it up. He's not going to be able to pull it up. Like, watch him. Just watch this here in a second. How his face, I wish he had pulled out, because the clip that I found, he's like, it's zoomed in. But if you watch the whole clip, Billy's got his phone. He's like typing and searching like chat GPT answer. And somebody actually looked it up, and that's actually what he was doing. So it's, wow, just watch.
Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Testimony about Jesus. They then just wrote down their eyewitness testimony on a piece of paper, or parchment paper, or papyrus.
But let's see what the Book of Barnabas is, because that a lot of people don't know about, and a lot of people haven't heard about it. So I just want to debunk what he just said, because again, all this information that Billy Carson is saying is easily Googled, easily looked up. It doesn't take an apologist or historian, which I'm neither one. Guys, I'm learning this information, some of it along with you guys, other stuff I researched, looked up, and learned over time. But this is stuff that Billy Carson is fooling people with. Again, he's putting he's trying to put out truth for a lie. I mean, a lie for truth. So the Book of Barnabas, just want to read something on that, guys. Some stuff I found. Again, you can Google all this. One point that Ben Richard mentions is that certain Italian phrases in the Gospel of Barnabas manuscripts were barely used until Dante's Inferno, which was published in the 14th century, which is well after Christ. Furthermore, as Britt Mooney explores, the manuscript contains many ideas and reflections of Islam, which didn't exist as a religion until the centuries after Christ. So again, we're gonna get into this here, but it was pretty much, the Book of Barnabas was written from a perspective of a Muslim and somebody that actually went into that. Given the historical information, we know that the Gospel of Barnabas wasn't written in the first century. It wasn't even written in the right time frame, and certainly not by Barnabas. So how was it factual? How was it legitimate material to get source from? It cannot be a lost gospel, because it was never lost to begin with. So that doesn't nail that in the coffin.
So these people,
right? So that's where internal methodological analysis.
Some of it's actually written down. So I mean, it's the same exact thing. There's really no difference.
Well, no. So you do internal investigations to figure out when something was dated. So something like
big difference.
There's so when I used that term verisimilitude before, that's something we as historians are looking for. It's a term that simply means the appearance or likelihood of truthfulness. So when you do historical analysis, it's an inference to the best explanation. So you have proof and you have data, and you're extrapolating that data on levels of probability. So some things can be confirmed as high probabilistically true, and other things are lower in their probability that they happened. But there are different methodologies, different ways that you explore historically how that happens. Well, so for the Gospels, you look at
with the Dogon tribe. Scientists went there to visit the tribe, and they still have no answers, because they used their modern science. They took the best scholars to visit these people, and they're still scratching their heads.
You see the big difference between Wes and Billy? Billy throws out a whole bunch of skepticism. He throws out a whole bunch of big words. He said apologist, historian, all this type of stuff, but has no facts to back up anything he's saying. But he calls himself someone who is pretty much an expert on this sort of a subject. So regardless of what condition Wes was in, because we're gonna watch later, he's gonna claim that he was on his deathbed and he was sick and all that type of stuff, which I think is a load of crap. He can't back it up. And you see Wes there, not like he had this all written out. He's able to just ramble off facts and back it up with proof. Billy hasn't done that at all.
Something happened there.
Sure.
that doesn't.
And I'm not even denying that necessarily, but the question is, okay, we need different levels of evidence and exploration, not just scientifically, but historically, to derive something as eyewitness testimony. Now, but when we talked about the crucifixion, everything you cited was either, and I mean with all due respect, false in terms of the Sinai Bible, because Codex Sinaiticus is just a 4th century Greek manuscript of the Gospels that we have today, or they were verified forgeries in terms of the Gospel of Jesus' wife and the Gospel of Barnabas.
You may be right on that particular part of the topic, but like I said, that's less than a tenth of.
You may be right. How are you going to say you may be right on the subject? Like, again, Billy Carson was found in his lies, found in his untruth. So guys, I tried to find the full response of Billy Carson, because after this, he came out, responded, and told him to take down all these clips. I tried to find the full response. By the time I got to it, I was not able to find the full clip, but one of my favorite Christian other YouTubers, What Do You Mean? He actually did a really good review of this. So I'm just going to share portions of his video, guys, with you. It's just good material. He really broke it down on how Wes responded, how he was acting. So we're going to pull this up here. It's coming up on the screen right now. There we go. So, I mean, he really did a really good review on this. He broke it down, because even Wes's response, he got on live for 3 hours, guys, 3 hours to defend himself, and then gets at the end, he just really shows his character and really shows who he is, how he responded. But I'm gonna let What You Mean explain it to you.
Lawsuits against everyone involved, the host, the opponent, and even the editor. But it wasn't long before his fans started turning.
Yeah, after this, again, as I said, he put lawsuits on everybody.
On him in droves. They were furious that he wouldn't admit to an obvious loss. I had to unsubscribe. It's one thing to be a sore loser, but to not admit defeat means you cannot learn or grow due to no lesson being received. Billy, brother, I really want to see you win, but you're fighting against your own message right now. I hope you can recover from this, but you have to look in the mirror, because this behavior is unacceptable. Really? Billy, you should be 100% honest when you discuss what happened. You are not building credibility, and I am a fan of yours. I used to like this guy, but literally 5 minutes into this video, I was done with him. But for some fans, the frustration went even deeper. Several other commenters pointed out something even more troubling about Billy's response. You should take this video down. Most of your fans are poor people. The poor people are the ones who made you.
It's just, man, his own people. There's people on his own YouTube channel that are commenting and saying these things. The fact that, I mean, you could obviously see, if you watch the full 2-hour interview against Bill and Wes, where they were having, really, it was a conversation. It wasn't really a debate. That he had plenty of time to talk, plenty of time to get air in, and he openly admitted that, I mean, he was in defeat, but he won't admit it. He's not humble enough to say, yo, dude, this guy completely had archaeological evidence. He had scriptural evidence. He had the Texas Receptus, all these things that he was able to verify all his information. He had as well, I think he had the certain manuscripts of papyrus to be able to verify what he was talking about. And he couldn't just openly say that. And your own people saw this.
Powerful. So what did Billy say on his live stream that drove his fans to say this? Well, it started with Billy unnecessarily and continuously humble bragging about how much money that he has in a way that felt tone deaf and out of touch with his audience.
We have 5 AC units, and I don't even know which one of them is acting up. I normally take the elevator upstairs. You know, I've had a chef for 10 years, and they like the food from coming over and eating the food at our house, and now they share our.
Like, dude, why do you flex on? Like, the fact that one interview you got exposed for being a complete liar, you get on here and you're just trying to flex and excuse my language, but crap on everybody for lack of better words. Like, this really shows this guy's character, and it's disgusting to me.
Our chef, you know, we are hopping off of a private jet. We relaxed in a huge 8,500 square foot mansion with our best friends on a tiny private island.
No one cares, Wes.
Actually sleeping in my movie theater. In my house, I have a movie theater. I'm sleeping in the movie theater.
But what really set fans off was his blatant mockery about those who he deemed poor, especially 9-to-5 workers.
This is what they try to do when you get famous. You see, I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant, poor people. You know, they're just poor people. They're just ignorant. So I let a lot of it, you know, whatever, man. These people are just poor dummies. You know, what can you do?
So if you don't have finances, you're not intelligent. That's pretty much what he's telling his fan base, that they're not intelligent enough to be able to decipher truth from lies, and deciphering that you're a complete liar. Like, you're a complete guy that comes out here and is preaching your own narrative and what you want to believe.
You do. I make more money than rappers. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9-to-5 worker bee. You thought I was just some dumb black guy that just happened to get a little lucky with a couple of clips online and gain some popularity. Like Kendrick Lamar say, they not like us. They not like us.
Now, first off, you can't quote Kendrick while you're acting like Drake. And secondly, now this earlier comment suddenly makes more sense. But if obliviously mocking his fans wasn't bad enough, Billy took things to another level when he admitted this.
The money that you thought you were making and the popularity you thought you were making is all going to be spent on attorney's fees. And I don't care if I win or lose. I just want you to spend money.
Now, if you aren't aware, what he just admitted to was filing what's called slap lawsuits, which are designed to silence critics and burden the defendant with legal costs until they abandon their criticism. And he even went so far as to say that he's going to sue the host of the podcast for
$1 million. And
that's his friend.
Now, not only does admitting this,
like, that's his friend. Billy Carson, that's his friend. He says this dude lives down the street from him. He literally had to walk around the corner and knock on his door. Like, dude, no one's ambushing you. He was on, like, if you watch the whole interview, the dude sitting next to Billy Carson the whole interview was on his side, was backing him up, was giving him talking points to prove his point. The dude's wife that was interviewing him is Muslim, and he doesn't even claim to be a Christian. So it's like, dude, how are you being ambushed? But we're gonna skip forward just a little bit, guys, in this. We can get to the next part where they break what do you mean breaks down portions of the debate. And Billy's response. Sorry, guys, brief commercial. We are back in there.
Incredibly sick, claiming that he nearly died of pneumonia days before the debate. And he showed proof of this by showing this Band-Aid on his arm.
And being in that weakened state, which he knew he caught me at one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds. And again, I was so sick and ill, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I did bumble my words a couple of times with the Sinai Bible or the Barn.
Anybody that's been around for more than 5 minutes and has seen Billy Carson, he has quoted multiple times the Sinai Bible on multiple platforms on his own live TV show. He said it so much. There's no way that, again, that he was misquoting himself. And then second, to try to claim that he was sick. Like, come on, dude. Come on. Be man enough. You being sick had nothing to do with it. I can be sick as a dog. I'm not going to start something that I'm very knowledgeable on all of a sudden become ignorant on. I may not be able to pull everything up and all this type of stuff, but I'm not going to be ignorant on the subject. And that's exactly how he sounded during this interview.
This text. It's quite powerful. I thought we were having a casual conversation on spirituality, and I wasn't really even fully in my right mind. I just almost died a few days before going to his house, literally. And so he took advantage of that.
Now, to be clear, I don't have any strong reason to doubt that he was sick and was actually in the hospital days before the debate. And by the way, I'm glad that he didn't die and he's better now. But if this illness really did cause him to get things wrong, then what's his excuse for saying the exact same things on podcasts before the debate?
Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the Sinai Bible. And the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
And how was he able, on the night of the debate, to go to the host's house at 2:30 in the morning while the host's wife and kids were sleeping? And immediately after the host didn't answer, he had enough energy to do this.
I come back to the house. I'm extremely angry and I'm extremely frustrated that I wasn't able to contact him. His phone was in like do not disturb.
Like, again, this guy has been saying these things for a very long time, and he's finally been shown that he's lying, because as soon as he was pointed out that the Sinai Bible that he tries to use as a point of reference does not prove that Jesus did not die on the cross, it actually proves that he did, and he tried to switch it up and try to use the gospel of Barnabas, which he's never quoted or said before. It's just like, come on, dude.
So I tried to call first. I tried to call him like 4 or 5 times, evidenced in my phone records. I texted him 5 or 6 times. I also texted him a copy of my do not consent, and I WhatsApped him a copy of my do not consent form at the same time.
But even worse, he says that he's now...
I'm not the same almost half dead person that you tried to talk to a few weeks ago. I've gotten my clear mind back. My brain fog is gone. My body weight's coming back. I'm lifting and working out every single day. I'm getting stronger by the second. I'm not that weak, sick person that just almost died. It was in the hospital, coming on a show on a video feed with a IV bandage on, literally fresh off the IV tree, the big tree with all the different IV bags and all the antibiotics and everything else dripping into my body, fresh off the bag. I'm in the studio, out of boredom, really, but brain fog, tired, exhausted, can't breathe.
But Billy, if you were this brain fog, if you were this out of it, if doctors are telling you not to leave your home, all this jargon that you're saying, then at the end of the day, you would have never been cognizant enough to even walk across the street. Furthermore, walk across after to try to contact the guy to the point to where you're going to his house. You weren't that out of it. You weren't that out of your mind. And the way that he looks now is the same way he looked in that interview. So I don't see how he's more cognizant now than he was then. I really do think it's a cop-out.
I only got about 2 more weeks of recovery left from this pneumonia, and I'll be full strength.
Now, if that's true, then why not debate again? Wes even offered to take the video down if Billy agreed to another debate.
Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion.
But it seems that Billy doesn't want to take that chance. Billy's second excuse for his poor performance was that he was ambushed. The only problem is he admitted to willingly doing the debate.
And then Mark gets this guy on the live feed, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a little debate." I'm like, "A debate?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about this, your perspective of religion and stuff and so on, whatever." And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
So not only did Billy once again mess up his lawsuit by admitting this, but anyone who watched the debate could see that it clearly was not an ambush. It was one-on-one, with the moderator even siding with Billy at times. His third excuse for a bad debate performance was that Mark and Wes conspired to mess up the feed whenever he had something important to say.
And then what they did was, they're pretty slick. So every time I had something really important to say or a deep question to ask, defendant number 2 video would just magically disconnect. Boop.
And that's a load of crap. I watched the whole 3-hour debate, or 2 hours. I'm sorry. I'm misquoting. The whole 2-hour debate. It only stopped like in the beginning. And the only person that got cut off was Wes. It wasn't him. And if you listen to the debate, Billy got to flesh out all of his points. He fully talked. No one interrupted him. There was a time and point which what he means is going to bring it up here in a second, where he talked for almost 4 to 5 minutes, no interruption, and both of them did. It was an open discussion. They weren't yelling at each other. No one was cutting Billy off.
He's off again. Oh, man, he's off again. I don't know what happened. The first time it happened, I was like, that's strange, because it didn't happen when he was talking, and his video was very clear and crisp, like almost 4K.
But this doesn't really add up. The footage only shows Wes's internet freezing, and no one can even manipulate a live feed.
Just said that, guy.
This excuse only works for people who haven't watched the full unedited footage of the debate, which you can find on Wes's channel and is also linked down below. His next excuse was that no one let him talk.
I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I never got a chance to answer any questions or get my voice heard. That's what really matters. But now I'm trying to ask my question. I'm getting overridden with other texts, other words from defendant number 1. He's overriding what I'm trying to say, everything I've got to ask. He's talking over me. I'm the person that's supposed to be in this debate. I can't even get a word.
No one over talked Billy. I really encourage anybody that really believes anything that Billy is saying, go listen, dude. He was never being over talked. It was a discussion. Like, how are you blatantly gonna lie? Like, your viewers and us, you're literally calling, you're questioning our intelligence, and it's frustrating. It's like, come on, dude, admit to what happened. Let's move on with this. Let's, count your L's, dude, and do a second debate. If you got so much comeback, if you got so much to prove, you can dispose everything that Wes said, have another debate with him.
Word in. And as soon as I say one thing, the other guy, defendant number 2, he's overriding and talking over me. I'm just sitting there patiently, just quiet. So I saw Dan at that moment. I realized, oh, this is a contrived setup video to make me look like I'm some type of dummy and I don't know what I'm talking about. So they can go bragging to all their Christian buddies and friends in their cult and, oh, he didn't know the answer to these 2 questions. Not really.
But anyone who's seen the debate knows that
Billy, it was way more than 2 questions.
this just isn't true. He had plenty of time to speak. Important times for him to make his case. He still only managed responses like these.
Referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than.
If you say it's no forgery and expert, I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit. That's fair enough. I can respect that.
Opportunity for.
All right, guys. 1 minute. We click through the commercial here. Appreciate y'all sticking with me. Just a second. We'll click off this. All right, let's get back to it.
Go into the Old Testament a little bit.
And even in my last video of him, I have a clip of him talking for almost 4 minutes straight, uninterrupted. And finally, Billy implied that AI or deepfake technology was used to manipulate the footage.
This is a video.
We're going to skip forward, guys, to the end portion of this video where Billy pretty much just goes crazy. He starts saying stuff that's completely out of line. He starts saying stuff about Christianity that really shows his heart position. And I've told you guys this multiple times. If somebody is a believer or somebody spends so much time trying to disprove Christianity or disprove the faith, it's a heart issue. It's not necessarily an issue of facts or intelligence or having the information to be able to make a right decision. It's a heart issue that they have with God. It's a heart position. So listen to this. This is really going to kick that in.
Billy Carson. So as the live stream went on, Billy began to show more and more hostility towards Christians. He started by calling the God of the Bible a sadistic narcissist.
What is the sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote unquote God of the Bible. If your God of the Bible is so powerful, why does he need to kill everybody and have all these wars? You're all knowing, all powerful, all omnipotent, yet you can't stop one brother from killing the other one. Till this very day.
Next, he turned his attention to biblical figures like Abraham, mocking his faith and his character.
Now, the fact that this man was willing to do this shows me how ignorant he was. You see, that's the difference between me and this guy. Now, they will preach to you all this stuff about him being this great holy man because he proved himself to God. No, he proved himself to be a doggone idiot. Is what he proved himself to be.
And finally, Billy attacked Christians themselves, accusing them of being easily manipulated.
You've been heavily manipulated to the point where you don't even know who the hell you are. It's really scary that there's that many NPCs.
You know what's really scary is the fact that Billy has brainwashed himself to believe all this jargon and false dogma that he keeps spewing out to the world that's very easily debunked. Who's the one that's brainwashed? Who's the one that doesn't know right from wrong? Who's the one that's delusional? Who's the one that's ignorant? I mean, I could y'all say it.
Walking around on this planet. Drones. You people are drones, man. No empathy. I gave you the definition of that earlier. Sadistic narcissism, lack of empathy, controlling, quick to anger, jealous, envious. I am a jealous God.
What is Billy doing this whole time? He's quick to anger. He's been mad. He's been passive aggressive this whole response video. Everything he's saying, Billy has been doing. Everything you're accusing God of, everything you're accusing Christians of, you're literally doing. The Bible says a man that says there isn't a God, a man that says there isn't a God in his heart is a fool. And that's exactly what Billy is. He's a fool.
Didn't he say that? Some of you will, some of you won't. Some of you will still be stuck in believing the current ideology and dogma that you've been fed. How come I can see that and understand that, but you guys can't? And you're wrapped up in the actual religion itself.
And ironically, he also said this about the church.
The church itself obfuscates or suppresses information or changes things or forces things to not be released.
But this is ironic because this is exactly what he is trying to do with these slap lawsuits. So if it's wrong for the church to suppress information and not have it released, then why is he giving everything that he has to doing exactly that? He also goes on to talk about how God condones slavery, sexual slavery, and genocide, all of which I've covered in detail in a playlist.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna end that one there. I mean, guys, it's so evident. I mean, without even, again, being someone, you don't even have to be an apologist. You don't have to be an historian. You don't have to have any of this stuff to be able to see how how this guy is, how he's responding, where his heart position is. Again, we pray and hope that Billy, the guy does open his heart. Sometimes people have to fall face flat down. Sometimes people have to be embarrassed for them to truly come to Christ, because I do believe him coming to Christ would be one of the biggest stories, and he could be a great man for God. We just pray and hope that, you know, maybe something seeps through, that regardless of his anger and how he's coming out and how he's responding to people, that whatever's come out outwardly, that God's doing something different inwardly. Guys, but let's go ahead and move on to our next subject of today.
Tell Satan his plans won't prosper. Many demon on his roster. I'm profile, child of God, forever the posture. I'm not the one you want to play with. God's favorite guy.
All right, guys. So I know you all watched it. I watched it last night. It came out last night or the night before. The Jamie Foxx Netflix special. I watched it last night and I was like, man, there's some really good stuff in here that you can take as a believer or somebody that's going through certain times and experiencing certain things. I really thought it was a really good Netflix special, and I enjoyed it. But in the same conversation, there were certain things that kind of made me question certain things. Now, I'm a skeptic, so if I'm being honest with you guys, before I give you the biblical view on the Jamie Foxx special, something kind of made me feel the type of way. I don't fully know if that's him. I feel like it was a little it seemed like there was a narrative, because every time he cried, it was a fake cry. He didn't really cry. I never saw a tear go down his eye. I don't mean to debunk this thing before we get going, but I got to give you guys my real take. I didn't see him actually cry. He fake cries like at least a handful of times. And he starts off with trying to debunk Cat Williams, one of the things that Cat has said. And it's just, to me, it made you question, but I did see some things in there that I felt like as a believer, even a non-believer, we can take some food from this. There's some things we can learn from Jamie. So let's go ahead and pull this up, guys.
My psychiatrist. He knew I was going through some shit. He says, "What's going on with you? Why can't we just talk?"
Actually, guys, we're going to get another clip. I am so sorry. One sec. Okay, guys. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong clip, but I got you here. We're going to listen to one in a second.
Jamie Foxx opening up for the first time about the mysterious health crisis that put him in the hospital for more than 20 days. The doctor giving his sister the bad news.
He told my sister some horrible news about her big brother. He said he's having a brain bleed that's led to a stroke.
In April 2023, Jamie Foxx was hospitalized in Atlanta after an unknown medical complication. He and his family sharing few details at the time, only saying it started with a bad headache.
So I asked my boy, I said, listen, I need a aspirin. Before I could get the aspirin, I went out. I don't remember 20 days.
But now, in his just-released Netflix stand-up special, What Had Happened Was, the comedian manages to find the humor about that dark time.
Said I couldn't walk, but look at me now.
The actor saying he had given up.
On May 4th, I woke up. And when I woke up, I found myself in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk.
Thanking the therapist who pushed him to get better, slowly but surely.
She said,
I mean, as in watching this, guys, it was like he was taking you on an emotional roller coaster through the time frames that when when the issue happened, from going to the hospital, passing out, having the stroke, not knowing what's going on, to waking up. And when he wakes up, and his therapist that kind of walked him through and told him what he had to do to actually get to that next place.
that I can help you, Jamie Foxx. But you got to tell me what's really
This is
going on
powerful
with
right
you.
here, what she says to him.
Dizzy, right? I said, yes, ma'am. You're so dizzy you can't walk. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, you remember the movie Karate Kid? I said, yes. She said, we're going to wax on, wax off.
Foxx recorded the special this past October while doing 3 live stand-up shows in Atlanta.
I ain't been on stage officially in like 18 years, but Atlanta made it feel like, man, I ain't lost.
And for somebody that ain't been on stage in 18 years, that's saying something, guys. Because to me, when I heard it, I didn't even realize. I thought it was like a comedy special, but to me, it was honestly more like a monologue, almost like a eulogy of flowers to himself over his life, that a lot of people don't get the chance to do. So that part, I was like, that was kind of ingenious, and I was like, some people should do this more often. The way that he did that, it was comedy mixed with his pain and things and trials that he's been through.
Now Foxx saying it was the strength of God and his family that helped him through.
Don't take me now, Jesus. Give me just a little more time with my little one.
Performing a song with his youngest daughter.
I mean, you had to make it, because I always dreamed that we'd perform together on stage one day.
Who played by his bedside when his health was the worst. And his motto through it all?
If I can stay funny, I can stay alive.
So guys, we're gonna play one other clip here that pretty much gets to the point of why I'm covering the Jamie Foxx special. This next clip, guys, that I'm gonna pull up here, Jamie Foxx talks about pretty much his interaction, his conversation with God. When he came to, and him and God had a conversation of why he was going through what he was going through. I think it's a really pivotal point that a lot of us have in life, that we have to look at how we're perceiving this and how we're moving forward. So we're going to let Jamie talk.
Because I'm angry. I don't know why this is happening to me. And as I said that, I knew why this was happening to me. It was God. It was God. It was God. Now, I don't know how y'all talk to God, but I talk to him different. I was like, hey, man, you sure you got the right dude? He said, who is this? I said, it's Foxx. Who? Foxx. Come on, G, it's Jay. Foxx, Jamie Foxx, the one down here, putting smiles on people's faces. Who? I said, damn, you want my government name? Eric Bishop. Terrell, Texas, the one that beat the odds, the one that got the Oscars, the one that got the Grammys. Come on, G, it's Jay. Come on, man. And you know what he said? Oh, what's up, my nigga? You can tell by that phrase alone that God is not white. Because I wouldn't even let the Messiah call me that.
I don't agree with the way that he's referencing and talking about God, because I do believe you should keep God holy at all times. But again, we're watching this to see a greater perspective on this.
But that's how me and God talk. I said, damn, man, you sure? I said, why am I going through this? I said, is it a clerical error? Did Peter write down the wrong name? I mean, did you read it wrong? I'm just saying, you've been at this for a while. Maybe you just read that shit wrong, my nigga. He said, no, this should be happening to you. I said, what? Why? I said, God, look at all these bad people. Look at all these bad people down here. Shouldn't these bad people be going through this? And you know what?
And that's the thing, is that we have a wrong perception of good and bad, good and evil, because all of us that have fallen short of the glory of God, all of us have. So it doesn't matter how good or how bad you think that you are. If God were to start taking people out based on good or bad, everybody that had fallen short of the glory of God, we'd all be smited, and he might start with you. And this goes back to what he's about to say here in a second here. But the verse I want to read is from Proverbs 16 and 18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. We have to realize that none of us are better than the other. That there's things that happen in life, and people that we think that are better than us are worse than us. We think we're better than them, and we have to realize that you're not better than anybody. Just because you commit this sin, this other person commits this sin, doesn't mean God's going to spare you because of you think that you're better. No, we all need the same grace. We talked about this last week pertaining to the TD Jakes situation. We all need the same grace. None of us are better than the other. And sin is sin to God.
Bad people already belong to somebody else. You belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when you used to say your grace before you ate your food? You belong to me. Remember when you played the piano for the church? When's the last time you've been to church, my nigga? But I shot back. God, I get it. But the crime don't get the punishment. The crime don't get the punishment. I'm serious. This is too much on me. Look, I'm still down here. I'm still gregarious.
And that's, again, an issue that us humans have. We view our sin as this. We don't think our sin as detrimental as it is. We don't think that the things that we're doing that are apart from God are as damaging as they are. But when we're committing those sins, again, sin, it leads to death. So God knows the severity of our sins, what these things that we're being drugged into, and we think it's small. We think, oh, well, I don't do what other people do. This is the issue.
Making people laugh, I'm making them have fun. I said, well, look what this is doing to my family, God. I said, look what it's doing to my kids. And you know what he said? You see what they did to my kid?
Mm-hmm. He persecuted me. They're going to persecute you for my name's sake.
Beautiful daughters. That was my only begotten son. And then I said, man, why you bring up old shit? As soon as I said it, I got dizzy. I said, okay. Gee, come on, man. Come on, knock it off, bro. Come on, my nigga. I'm a kidder. Bro, I'm joking. Come on, man. Let me out this bitch. Come on, bro. I'm fucking around, bro. Okay, I didn't mean to say fucking. I'm fooling. Just let it off me. And finally, it came to me. It's about blessings. God blessed me with this talent. He blessed me with all this money and this fame. And when I forgot about God, he blessed me with stroke.
And I mean, there's things that God does. There's things that you can be in a time in your life where you're completely opposed to God. You're running in the opposite direction of God. And God sometimes will let you fall. God will let you hit your head, bruise your kneecap, be hurting, screaming, and crying to the point to where you have no other excuse, no one else to turn to, no one else to blame. You have to turn to God. And let's be honest, a lot of us are too hard-headed, and it takes us getting to that level. I mean, of course, God doesn't want us to get to that level to where we have to, be in a catastrophic event before we turn to God. But a lot of times that happens. And if you listen to this, again, the whole Netflix special, I couldn't play the whole thing, for copyright and stuff like that. But he starts earlier on in that, he starts telling God, well, I'm Jamie Foxx, and I done accomplished this, and I've got these awards and all these other things, and I'm all this and all that. And the thing is again, that's how Satan fell, is because he was a lover of self, lover of himself. And that's one other thing I want to take from what Jamie Foxx, his issue was, and what happened is Jamie Foxx had himself on such a high pedestal that all he did was he was worshiping the God of self. The devil's never going to come to you and try to get you to worship him. No, he's going to tell you to worship yourself. I just want to read something small from you guys from Ezekiel 28:14. This is Satan's fall. You were the anointed cherub who covers I established you. You were the one of the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. You were the perfect in your ways from the day you were created. God created all of us perfect till iniquity was found in you. By the abundance of your trading, you became filled with the violence within, and you sinned. Therefore, I cast you as a profane thing out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O covering the cherub from the midst of the fiery stones. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. Your corrupt wisdom from your sake of your splendor, I cast you to the ground. I laid you before the kings, they might gaze at you. So they might gaze at you. Again, guys, that's Ezekiel 28 and 28:14-17. And the reason why I read that verse is because a lot of us do that. You have to be very conscious of that, is that God built you beautifully. God fashioned you, he's made you, and he fashioned you in such a way that we can look at ourselves and like, look at me, look how good I look who I am, and the accomplishments that we've accomplished in this world. And we start thanking ourselves, we start worshiping ourselves, we start having so much pride about ourselves. And that's exactly how Satan fell, was that. And that's how Jamie fell. He has so much pride in himself, pride in who he was, that he sinned. And that's what brings you to this space. And I don't want to, again, miscrew anything, because when Jamie Foxx, I'm listening to this whole thing, and now I can't say whether Jamie Foxx is a believer or not a believer. But you know, when I hear, one second, guys, I'm sorry. But when Jamie Foxx is, you know, getting up on stage, guys, he's completely, guys, showing us again, when you listen to the whole thing, he talks about himself. He talks about blaspheming God, even though he thanks God at one time and point. He's cursing throughout it. And I think one thing that I want to drive home at the ending part of this, and a lot of people are going to say I'm coming at him hard, I'm being judgmental, and God is working on him, and I don't know exactly where God's got him, but God says, be holy as I'm holy. And just because you call in the name of God doesn't mean that you're a child of God, because God says not everybody is his child. Just because you call yourself a child of God, just because you went to church every once in a while and you pick up your Bible once in a while, your life is to be in service to him, continually dying to yourself and picking up your cross and walking after God. It's not an easy life. And I think what can be miscrewed, a lot of these celebrities, is they get out there and you see them pretty much saying, oh, I love God, I thank God, but none of their life resembles God. None of their life is in sacrifice to God. They're never picking up their cross. So I want to drive this home, that not everybody is a child of God simply because they say that they are, simply because they thank God when things go bad. So I want to read what a true child of God is. The Father has loved us so much that we were called children of God. And we really are his children. The reason people in the world do not know us is that they have not known him. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and we have not yet been shown that we will be in the future. But we know that when Christ comes again, we will be like him, because we will see him as he really is. Christ is pure, and all who have hope in Jesus Christ keep themselves pure like Christ. They can keep themselves pure. There's a certain walk. There's a certain thing that you have to do. There's a certain way that you have to keep walk to be a child of God. It's not just live your life whatever way you want to live it and just thank God at the end of the day. at the end of you cussing, doing whatever you want, doing all these things that are opposite of Christ. The person who sins breaks God's law. Exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, sin is living against God's law. You know that Christ came to take away sins. There is no sin in Christ. So anyone who lives in Christ does not go on sinning. That's what I'm driving home. You can't call yourself a believer, call yourself a child of Christ, and everything in your life, you are perpetually sinning. You're not changing your actions. You're not changing how you live. Anyone who goes on sinning has never really understood Christ and has never known him. So, guys, pretty much that's that there. I could read more, but for time's sake, I can encourage you guys continue to read all the way through John 1 and 3. Guys. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our next subject, guys. Here, we're gonna keep the show rolling today.
Tell Satan his plans won't prosper. Many demon on his roster. I'm profile, child of God, forever the posture. I'm not the one you want to play with. God's favorite guy.
Had a pretty much, I'm sorry, Joe Rogan pretty much just came out and said, I don't know how new it is or old it is. It may be like an old segment. But he came out and pretty much said, was skeptical about the Bible and about the manuscripts and how things can they be really credible? Are these things that were just made up over the course of time? And Frank Turk actually reviewed a segment of one of his podcasts, and I really like the point that Frank Turk brought up. Frank Turk is another apologist, guys. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. One minute, guys. Appreciate everybody sticking along with me today with some of these technical difficulties we have, but we pushing through, and I appreciate all of y'all for sticking along with me, for real. Okay, I got the video here. Okay.
I think that what the Bible is I think at one point in time, there was a very sophisticated society that got wiped out by some sort of a massive natural disaster. And then over time, they told the stories that they had learned since they stopped writing things down. And they probably had to live like barbarians for thousands of years. But they always had the stories. It's like, this is like a map of civilization.
Right.
It's just so old, and it's been translated so many times from ancient Hebrew and Aramaic and all these different languages down to Greek and Latin and English finally. It's like, there's so much, like, what was really said? What was really going on? Because a lot of it seems too on the money. Like, if we wanted to try to put this through some sort of a logical filter or figure out, like, is someone really trying to warn?
But Joe, that's what makes the Bible inerrant. That's what makes the Bible legitimate, is because it standed the test of time, because it's gone across many different regions and languages and is still carrying on. And that's how it's been verifiable.
Or us.
You know, Joe is absolutely right. The Bible is on the money. In fact, we don't just read the Bible reads us. I do want to respond to one thing he mentioned, though, about the translating. You know, I get this question a lot on a college campus, and a lot of people think the Bible's been translated through all these languages ultimately to English. That's not really how it happened.
Guys, really listen to how Frank breaks this down. I think a lot of people don't have this clear understanding on how the scriptures were translated from the Greek, Hebrew, and the Aramaic. So this is, I love the way that he breaks this down.
And let's just take the New Testament, for example. In the New Testament, the people that either witnessed Jesus or knew eyewitnesses wrote down what Jesus said and did. And then other people later copied these into Greek. They were originally written in Greek. They were further translated into other languages, but also into Greek. And we take almost 6,000 handwritten Greek manuscripts over the centuries. When we compare those Greek manuscripts, we can reconstruct the original down to 99% accuracy. And we have all these other languages too.
And that's crazy, guys. 99% accuracy. And I'm going to read some other stuff here in a second that, you know, we talk about Cape Qumran, where they found in those clay pots, they found over majority of the Old and the New Testament, and it was complete matches, guys. 99% accuracy is crazy. The Bible has been around for well over 2,000 years, well over. That's just barely trying to graze the surface of the Old Testament, not even. So, guys, there's so much proof in the Bible. There's so much proof in there that, again, the same thing we were talking about Billy Carson earlier. You have to have a heart issue, not an intellectual issue, because you can very easily intellectually and historically prove your faith and prove the Bible is true.
That help us know what the original said, in addition to the early church fathers. So there's really no debate over whether or not we have the original New Testament documents. We do. Now, we take those Greek and we put them right into English or Russian or Chinese or German. We don't go through all these other languages to get to ultimately English or these other languages. We go straight from the Greek, straight from the Hebrew in the Old Testament, the Aramaic in the Old Testament, right into English.
That's saying something. If we're going right over from one to the other, pretty much. So it's not like we're transcribing it through one language to another language to another language. No, it's going straight from the Greek or the Hebrew or the Aramaic, and they're just taking it straight from that into that other language, not necessarily constantly recycling it through other languages to get to a particular one. It's coming straight from the manuscripts, guys. So I just want to give you guys some more of the facts, just some other facts on the Bible that just further prove your faith and further prove that the Bible is true and real, guys, because I've done my research on this as well. The Bible is, you have to keep in mind that the Bible is thought inspired. It's not pen inspired. Therefore, its words do not have to be repeated verbatim by other writers. Sometimes it doesn't even have to have the same pen writer, but the thought remains the same. Just like from the Old and the New Testament, you have over 40 different authors in there, and they all have the same thought. It's telling the same story. They have the same narrative. The narrative doesn't change. These people that were never in the same room, that were never in the same space, but yet they have the same idea, that they're telling the same story. Just because a portion of the text is missing doesn't mean manipulation has taken place. Present tense statement versus future. The Bible always speaks in context. That's why I always tell people you have to know context. You have to know who they were talking to, the words meaning. So you have to break all that down. You just can't sometimes take the Bible just as face value of the verse that you're reading. Some more historical facts. The Cape Qumran that I was talking to you guys is proof that the Bible is credible. Diggers found the Dead Sea Scrolls, a collection of them of 981 texts discovered in between 1946 and 1956. Most of these texts were written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, the same ones that the King James Version is translated from today. All the Bible you read today has all those translations. They were amazed to find the accuracies of the text from today, just as Frank said, 99% accuracy of the word of the world of God will stand for forever. There was an accurate way to translate the text called the Textus Receptus. In 1956, translation base shows that there was accurate proof of the Bible. New Testament into English by William Tyndale. The King James Version was originally printed in Greek. So, guys, I just want to give you some little head knowledge, no geek knowledge on the Bible, guys. There, so you know, when somebody comes up to you, someone says things. There's so much that you can. I mean, guys, you can find all this stuff online. You can look it up. There's so many videos. I mean, there's so much that we have tangible at our fingertips now that my parents or people before us never had the ability to look all these things up, never had the ability to view this stuff just from the internet. You ain't even got to go to your library. You ain't got to go across the world. You don't got to, go to Egypt and, all these places to be able to cite these things and to learn these things. You can learn it all via online. Guys, but let's go and jump into our last subject of today, and I'm gonna get you guys out of here.
Tell Satan his plans won't prosper. And any demon on his roster, I'm profile. Child of God, forever the posture. I'm not the one you wanna play with. God's favorite guy.
Candace Owens once again has another polarizing interview. Actually, we covered another portion of this interview at another time. It was like, say, a few weeks back when she interviewed with Nick Cannon on his podcast, and she pressed him on telling the truth and relating to sexuality and the trans community. And the way that she breaks this down and says this, the way that Nick responds, it really poses and makes you think. It made him think, because she pressed him on that when she tries to come at him for the truth, for speaking the truth. So let's go ahead and pull this up, guys. I ain't gonna hold you long. Just a minute here. There we go. Pulling up right now.
I would disrespect you if I lied to you. I'm not going to call a man a woman. I'm not going to call a woman a man. I'm not going to say sorry for saying telling the truth. Your beliefs. It's not my belief. A woman cannot be a man, and a man cannot be a woman. It's not a belief.
But I'm saying in your perception of the world is different from someone else's, because just as emphatic as you are, that you believe what you just said, there's someone that believes emphatically the opposite.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the idea that everything can be subjective and there's no such thing as truth.
And the thing is, there's not subjective truth. And that's the thing, that a lot of people that want to talk about truth is subjective. Well, this is this person's truth and this is your truth. When they really break it down, they're really being honest with themselves and really press them on that. They don't really believe that truth is subjective. Because if truth was subjective, I mean, there's so many other topics that we could take this into. And Candace is about to bring up a great example that when you press them on this, they really do not believe truth is subjective. They only believe it's subjective on certain topics in certain spheres.
And let me tell you why that. Let me. But that's why it's either a yes or a no.
No, because we're either talking about feelings or facts.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I believe there is objective truth. Okay.
Okay.
A person that is born a man, okay, a person that is born with a penis, as we call it, okay, cannot ever grow up and give birth. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so there is such thing as an objective truth. I will not apologize for sharing objective truth. I'm not going to apologize for not saying because his feelings are hurt
and you never should. And you never should. In the world that we live in now, people want you to apologize for telling literally the truth. That a man is a man, a woman is a woman. Not every a man cannot give birth. I mean, there's so many things nowadays that we have tried to blur the lines on that are scientifically, I mean, even from a kindergarten age, we know them to be true. And so to be grown adults having debates over things that are so elementary, it doesn't mean our society is going forward. It kind of actually means we're going backwards.
See how I feel because
because so you have no problem going throughout the world hurting people's feelings.
I have no problem going out the world. That's one way
you're telling them the truth.
Telling people the truth so they can better their lives, so they can live in reality.
Someone that loves you is not someone that tolerates you, and is not someone that tells you a lie to save your feelings. The person that loves you is the one that tells you the truth in spite of how you feel, in spite of you maybe even rejecting them because of it. I mean, there's been times and points in my own life where people that were close to me that saw me in a bad place, that saw me interacting with things that I should have not interacted with. I thought patterns and things I should have not been going on. And they just went along with it and didn't say anything to me. And then when I got out of it and it created damage in my life, I was actually mad at the people that loved me. It didn't say anything. That just batted and that just, kept their head down, didn't say anything, stayed docile. That's not love.
And not the one.
But what if someone believes that is a better life for them?
Okay, well, let's play it your way then. Let's do it the other way. There are a group of people who are now referring to themselves as minor attracted people.
Oh, I knew you was going. Can't go there.
Hey, but that's what they believe. They believe that they are in love and want to have sex with children. They believe that, Nick. They believe it. And are you going to apologize when you call them pedophiles? Are you going to apologize, Nick? Are you going to have them on your podcast? Don't you understand how they feel on the inside when you say that they can't have sex with 8-year-olds?
This is not a stretch. We are literally, there's legislation going in. There's groups of people that are actually trying to push the very thing that she's posing to him, that he acts like it's crazy and asinine to bring up, because it's not. It's a reality in today's world. The buck's got to stop somewhere.
It is, the slippery slope is not a fallacy. It is reality. We are living the slippery slope. So somebody's going to have to produce the wall. So there's going to be a lot of voices that need to be objective and tell people the truth. I'm very happy to be those voices. If you're looking for me to, make you feel good, I can't be your mommy. I can't. That's why I tell people, I can't be your mommy.
But see, that's what I was like. It's too
I'm not your mommy. You're not a toddler. You're an adult.
But see,
this is what truth is. And if you can't deal with truth, then you're going to have a very tough life, way tougher than having to listen to Candace Owen say, you are a man.
If the kitchen's too hot, get out. Get out the kitchen. If it's too hot, get out the kitchen. Truth is truth. A lie is a lie. There's no in between.
And on the internet, you cannot feel compassion for lies, especially because they have become what they're doing now is they're wielding compassion as a sword to pass through everything that they want done. And like I said, you were going to blink, and compassion is going to end up with minor attracted peoples. Compassion is going to mean we can no longer call them pedophiles. That is what is going to happen. It is what is happening.
Can't let that happen.
We are barreling toward that. We are barreling toward that. It's so obvious because people they would rather tell a lie than risk offending someone.
That's so true. That is so true. We've done that so much, guys. So I just want to read a verse that actually speaks to this in Timothy, guys, because again, the world that we live in, what we're in now, like Candace said, we're barreling towards this. This isn't like crazy Christian talk trying to say that, fear mongering and hating people that are of, different beliefs and sexual identities. No, it's a truth. The buck has to stop somewhere. Again, this is 2 Timothy 3:1. Get this little advertisement off the screen so y'all can see it. But mark this, there will be a terrible time in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, teacherless, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power of, having nothing to do with these people. If that doesn't explain where we are now, if that doesn't explain what we've been experiencing, what we're seeing in real time, what Candace was talking about, we're seeing this again in real time. And we have to be leery of these things. One, as believers, we have to be leery of these things, as well as just people in this world. Because again, if we just keep letting these things go, we just keep letting all these new ideologies and things come up that isn't to benefit society, but it's actually turning us against ourselves, regardless of how you want to think about it. So guys, that's some food for thought for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. It's getting a little late, but thank you guys again for listening to King Josiah TV podcast. This is episode 25, guys. I will be back next week with you again. Before I get out of here, guys, I ain't going to forget, if you're listening live on YouTube, go ahead and smash the subscribe button. If you hadn't hit the like button, why haven't you? That helps my channel out. That helps us grow. That helps us continue to push this content out to you weekly and daily. If you're listening audibly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'll see you next week.
My salvation on me like it's a helmet. The way you to sin is death, send you to hell quick. Wanted to be all about me, God, I was selfish. I was